Imagine global trade as a massive chessboard, with China and Western nations making strategic moves, creating a bit of a tension. It's like a dance between superpowers, each with its own playbook. Now let's focus on something really interesting: recent shifts in China's approach to espionage. It's not just about spy games. It has a direct impact on the vast world of international trade. And Europe and the West are deeply concerned. It's something that's poised to shake up the entire global trade scene. There's a lot to unpack in today's video, so before we dive in, show us some love with a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Now let's get into it. Let's first dive into China's revised anti-espionage law. Picture this as a playbook that defines what counts as espionage, sets the rules for investigating and handling violations, and throws in some legal supervision for good measure. Now, when foreign concerns pop up about actions like stealing, spying, or buying info related to national security for foreign entities, the law is saying, hold on, that's probably illegal. But here's the twist. If companies are playing by the book, following Chinese law, and doing their regular commercial dance, they're in the clear. The big deal: this definition draws a clear line between what's okay and what's not, according to the officials in the know. Now let's break it down step by step. The anti-espionage law in China is like a detailed guidebook. It spells out what actions fall under the spy umbrella, establishes how to investigate and deal with rule breakers, and even has legal oversight to keep things in check. So when we hear about concerns regarding actions like stealing, spying, or buying info related to national security for foreign entities, the law steps in. So why is Europe and the West so concerned about this law? Recently, Valdis Dombrovskis, who handles trade relations as the European Commission Executive Vice President, expressed serious worries about the revised anti-espionage law. He calls it a big concern for the business people, saying it's unclear and leaves too much room for interpretation, which really shakes investors' confidence. He explains it as a lose-lose situation. Now, why is this law causing trouble for Europeans? Well, it was first introduced in 2014 to stop and penalize espionage. The thing is, its rules give the central authorities in the country a wide power to crack down on anything they see as a threat to national security, honor, or interests. The law adds to the tools the Chinese Communist Party has to control citizens, companies, and organizations. Xi's quest for supreme authority has sparked tension with Western countries. He accuses G7 allies, especially the United States, of trying to hinder China's goal of leading in technology and innovation globally. On the flip side, liberal democracies feel Xi is trying to dismantle the post-World War II order and establish a system that mirrors China. In this atmosphere of suspicion, the Communist Party is rolling out legal and policy measures to ensure all aspects of Chinese society, even those abroad, are under constant oversight. This push led to the update of the anti-espionage law, which started on July 1st. The key exchange in the text is in Article 4, and it's a game changer. A specific section of legislation that outlines acts of espionage and the expanded criteria for what can be considered as such. It broadens the definition beyond traditional espionage involving intelligence networks and agents. It lists acts of espionage that can now be cracked down on. Before, espionage was mainly about intelligence networks, but now it includes stuff carried out, instigated, or funded by people and groups other than spy organizations. Article 4 doesn't just cover state secrets. It also includes the illegal gathering of other documents, data, materials, or items related to national security. Plus, it brings in cyber attacks on state property and critical infrastructure. The last part mentions other espionage activities, leaving it open-ended without much explanation. Following this broad definition, there are more articles that boost the power of investigators. They can check electronic devices, raid places, seize documents, collect data, freeze assets, and arrest people, all while being recorded. If foreigners are accused of spying, they can be quickly kicked out and banned from entering China for up to 10 years. What stands out is that the law promotes individuals to act as vigilant observers. It asks all citizens and organizations to help the authorities by reporting suspicious behavior, and those who do might get some commendations and awards. The EU is pretty concerned about this updated anti-espionage law in China. It states that it's not just big. It's also pretty unclear, giving the state a lot of power to decide why it might be a threat to China's integrity. According to the EU, the tricky part is, the law doesn't actually define what national security, honor, and interest mean, making it even more open to interpretations. Things that seemed harmless before could now be seen as harmful, theoretically. Vincent Brucey, a China researcher at the University of Leiden in the Netherlands, states that Beijing hasn't really explained why they changed the law. He mentions that China's idea of national security has broadened a lot in the past decades, especially under Xi Jinping. Xi sees national security as the foundation of the country's development. Xi's style is all about telling China's story in his terms, both inside and outside the country. His diplomatic team, sometimes called wolf warriors, are quick to shut down critics. According to Brucey, China wants to make sure that foreign players, especially the US, don't get information that goes against what the Chinese Communist Party is saying. On the flip side, Beijing is making it clear that China's anti-espionage law has laid out detailed guidelines for counter-espionage efforts. They're laying down the rules, like what counts as spying and how to deal with it, and keeping an eye on it through legal supervision. When foreign media worry about actions like stealing or spying, they're saying these actions are assumed to be illegal. So if companies and other employees are playing by the rules and doing regular business stuff according to Chinese law, this rule doesn't bother them. The big point here is that the definition is making it crystal clear what's legal and what's not, as emphasized by the officials. This makes it more understandable for the public. It ensures that companies and their personnel can conduct business in China within the bounds of the law. Furthermore, the official highlighted that this definition aligns with international legislation practices. Many countries see things like acquiring, collecting, or sharing info that messes with national security as espionage. The ministry is saying that making laws to stop spying while keeping national security safe is something many countries do. They're changing the law to deal with spies and intel groups, not businesses or folks doing legit stuff in China. The law says spying efforts gotta follow the rules and look out for the rights of people and groups. The official thinks this fits with how law should work, finding a balance between punishing spies and respecting people's rights. A Dutch law firm, De Brauw Blackstone Westbrook, points out that the updated law in China is putting a closer eye on companies dealing with trade secrets, research, and data. This includes critical areas like medicine and technology. It means high-tech stuff and even military data could become a bit of a headache. The law firm is advising big international companies doing business in China to really dig into their operations involving data. And they're really stressing the need for careful internal audits, especially when there's any transfer of data abroad. Now this might be a bit tricky for European subsidiaries. They've got to keep a close watch, reporting back regularly to their main offices. Plus, there are upcoming EU rules where big companies need to deal with the impacts of their operations, or they could face fines. The EU feels that getting detailed info from Chinese providers might become a bit of a hassle with this anti-espionage law. And it could turn the usual bureaucratic stuff into a risky game, where auditors and consultants might be looking over their shoulders for criminal trouble. It's a tough spot, with the anti-espionage law and EU rules potentially conflicting. And that's a wrap on what's happening between China, Europe, and the West in the world of global trade. We would really love to hear your take on it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective adds a lot to the conversation. And if you're into the world of economics and geopolitics, guess what? We've got a bunch of videos coming your way. So stay tuned and we will catch you in our next video.